A Game of Musical Souls by Liam Hogan. Alex wasn't expecting any surprises when he cracked open the chest cavity of Francis de la Gare, the final E appended to the toe tag in green biro. He'd read the case notes: 97, keeled over in the street, suspected heart attack. But as he lifted the lungs onto a metal tray, his dictaphone commentary stumbled, distractedly describing the old man's calcified heart. His own pulse raced and his attention was dragged away. Francis de la Gare's soul was simply magnificent. Twice as large as those that had usually passed through Alex's jaded hands, and gleaming as only the best souls did, even this long after death. Alex felt a tug of envy and of avarice. 30 years ago, he'd have got a sizable sum for a soul this huge. That trade, though, had been stamped out before his time as a pathologist began. Though you still heard rumours. But you couldn't do it. Not anymore. Not even working alone as he had since the cuts, 12-hour nights that had his back in spasms, never letting him escape the sickly, sweet smell of death. The cadaver would be checked by a priest before it left the morgue. If a soul was missing, all hell would break loose. Of course, it didn't have to be the same soul. He could swap it. A game of musical souls. There was always at least one body in the stainless steel drawers, often more. If he was careful, the music need never end. Oh, but that wouldn't work either. Dr. Fossick used both labs during the day, a vain attempt to clear the growing backlog. Voice on autopilot, Alex lowered the glowing organ onto the scales. An unheard of 22 ounces. He'd never seen its like. Oh, the souls of men and women in times gone by had been heavier, though no one knew why. But some doubted the official record. Great men with great souls, as reported by their beneficiaries. Soul, 7, almost 8 ounces. He lied into the microphone. Condition, dull, yellowy, grey, spongy to the touch, flaccid. Alex wondered how much a 22-ounce soul might fetch. The black market was so shady. You never really heard about individual transactions or how they did it. The penalty for soul dealing being so severe, the checks stringent. One thing was certain. They were earning more than he ever would, still on a junior pathologist's salary, even though he was doing the work of 3. And it was obvious to him and to his municipal employers that it was only because he was willing to accept this sorry state of affairs that he had any job at all. His commentary stuttered again as he rechecked the file. At time of death, 18 hours ago. Fresh? No next of kin for Francis de la Gare. The bare bones had cremation ticked on the form. They wait the regulation 3 days, the limit where even the very best souls stopped having a detectable glow, after which it will be just another pound of flesh, or in Francis's case, £1.50 pounds. An organ you could do without even when you were alive, as the war had proven. Both sides had thought removing the soul would make better soldiers, more fearless killers, until they discovered you could merely pretend to remove the soul and achieve the same effect with rather less chance of medical mishap. Since they didn't show up on X-rays, a priest or an autopsy could settle it either way. And despite vast leaps in medical knowledge over the last century, no one knew what the soul was for, or what it did. And despite what the priests claimed, there was no reliable evidence it did you any good when you were dead anyway. Still, no one wanted to pass into the afterlife without one. And some, the stupendously rich, their empires built on the misfortunes of others, they were willing to part with what they couldn't take with them for an untarnished soul, one that gleamed. Vestigial remnants of religious beliefs Alex had discarded long ago. He'd readily give his soul for a half-decent meal and a night with Vanessa from reception. But then his soul wouldn't get any more than that. Francis's soul, on the other hand, was a once-in-a-lifetime find, a miracle he must not let slip between his gloved fingers. He imagined a bidding war for this rare prize. Enough for 1,000 meals, 1,000 Vanessas. And when your job was cutting up stiffs, you needed all the help you could get in the Vanessa department. He clicked the off button on the recorder. He'd complete the report at home, make up anything he hadn't finished. He'd done that before. It took more time and effort than it saved, but at least he could do it from the comfort of his flat, a glass of wine in one hand, pouring a libation to the recently deceased, pretending he did have a life outside his work. Besides, who was interested in the cause of death of a 97-year-old? Assuming Alex could contact the right people, assuming he could keep the soul alive, there was still the problem of how he could smuggle it out of the morgue, how he could prevent its absence being discovered at a later date. He marched over to the frosted double doors and snapped the bolts home. Though unlikely, he didn't want to be disturbed. Only now, with the dictaphone off, did he let himself contemplate what he had already decided to do. There was a way. When the music stopped, every cadaver would still contain exactly one soul, though not the one it started with. And he, Alex, would walk out of that morgue with Francis de Lagare's priceless soul, where no priest or bag search would ever find it. He pulled out a tray of freshly sterilized medical instruments, lined up the scalpels, the bone saw, the rib spreader. He took a deep, burning gulp of medicinal alcohol. This, he knew, was going to hurt.